Okay, welcome. The topic of today is to balance the chemical equation given a word equation. Methane reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water. So let's convert this word equation into symbol equation. Methane is CH4, oxygen it's O2 because it exists as a molecule, not as an atom. It exists as a molecule formed when two oxygen atoms are combined, and then carbon dioxide is CO2, water is H2O. Single arrow here mean that the reactant react completely to form the product. By the way, this CH4 and O2 are the reactant. The CO2 and H2O are the product. So balancing equation, we have to make sure, if you check, this equation is composed of three different atoms, which are carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So the number of carbon on the reactant side should be equal to the number of carbon on the product side, and the number of hydrogen atom on the reactant side should be equal to the number of hydrogen atom on the product side. Same applies to the number of oxygen on the reactant side should or must be equal to the number of oxygen on the product side. So let's count them and see if the equation is balanced or not. On the reactant side, we have 1 carbon, 4 hydrogen, 2 oxygen, and then on the product side we have 1 carbon, 2 oxygen, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. So the equation is not balanced. It's not balanced because we have 4 hydrogen here on the reactant side, and we have 2 hydrogen on the product side. So the equation is not balanced because 2 hydrogen is not equals to 4 hydrogen. Balancing means that they should be equal. So the only way for this to be equal is when we multiply water molecule so that we can have 2 more hydrogen like that, right? And then we can have 4. But one may argue and say, why don't we get rid maybe of these 4 and put 2 here so that we can have 2 hydrogen and 2 hydrogen? So it won't work because CH4 is not equals to CH2. In other words, when balancing chemical equation, we don't change these subscript numbers, because changing them simple, now we're changing the molecule. Rather, we multiply the molecule itself by any numerical value, right? It's a trial and error, so we can multiply the molecule itself, right? So that doing so we can see if the equation is balanced or not. So in other words, these values here, we don't change them, this subscript, because changing them automatically will be changing the molecule now, which is wrong now. We don't change these numbers, we don't change them. What we do, rather, we come and change these ones and write numerical values here, right? These are the space that we can write to multiply the molecules itself now. So this means now we will come and have to multiply this so that we can have 4. We need to multiply this hydrogen so that we can have 4. So the only way to do that is to multiply this water molecule, or the whole of this water molecule. Alright, we multiply it by 2. Multiplying this water molecule by 2 simply means that we will now have 4 hydrogen, because let me show you how this multiplication goes. Because these 2 will multiply the hydrogen, it will have 4 hydrogen. These 2 will also multiply this oxygen, and we will now have what? 2 oxygen, as I indicated here. So from there we can come and recheck now to see if the hydrogen is balanced and our carbon is still balanced. If you check, carbon, it's 1 here, and on the reactant side and on the product side it's 1 carbon. So this means carbon is fine, we are happy with it. And then hydrogen, it's 4 hydrogen here on the reactant side. On the product side it's also 4 hydrogen, so we are fine with it. Hydrogen is fine. So now oxygen, we have 2 and 2, so we have 4 oxygen on the product side, but on the reactant side we have only 2. So the oxygen atom are not balanced. We need to do something. We have 4 on the product side and 2 on the reactant side, so they should be equal. In other words, we have to multiply these 2 hydrogen so that we can have 2 more. This means we will multiply this molecule now, this oxygen molecule, by what? By 2, and have 4, because 2 times 2 is going to be 4. And then doing so, we will now have 4 oxygen atoms, and now it is balanced.